much, and thanks as always for your technical expertise to help these sessions run smoothly and efficiently. We really appreciate it. So I'm Jennifer Green, and I am the Director of Sustainability and Workforce Development at the Burlington Electric Department, and I'm very pleased to welcome you to our third energy efficiency coaching session. Today, we've got a little bit of a riff on a theme. We're going to be talking about net zero energy and our transition away from fossil fuels in the heating and ground transportation sectors. And with me today are two of my colleagues. I have General Manager Darren Springer with me. Darren is the screen below me, and up above me is Chris Burns, who is the Director of Energy Services. So thanks so much to the two of you for being here today for our third session. So we're going to be talking a little bit about net zero energy, sort of what that means, how we got here, and where we're going. I think we've decided as a way to kick it off is to reflect back on our September 2019 launch in Contois Auditorium in City Hall with a few words from the mayor. And I think, Darren, unless you want to start by sort of prepping us for that short clip, why don't I let you do that? Is there anything you want to share before we actually show these few seconds of Mayor Weinberger?
Well, sure. Thanks, Jen, for hosting us. It's great to be with everybody talking about net zero energy. And yeah, we're thinking back to September of last year after more than a year of work with Burlington Electric and the city and our partners at Synapse and RSG, launching our net zero energy roadmap and laying out a vision for what Burlington may look like in 2030 as we make this important transition. So with that, I love to hear from the mayor, from the clip.
Standing by, I'm just going to play this back.
Yeah, thanks, Adam.
And here we go.
You know, unfortunately, Adam, we're not getting volume. If it doesn't work today, that's fine. We can share the link with folks, unless you want to give it another try.
Oh, okay. Microphone array. Yeah, I guess we'll have to share the link because this is, everything should be, I'm hearing it. So you're not hearing it? Let me try this.
Do our part to stop climate change. The Burlington of 2030 is going to need to look very different than the Burlington of today. In that Burlington of 2030, it will need to be one where every one of our buildings is more energy efficient than it is today, and where 95% of residential households are heated with electricity, and 80% of the commercial floor space in this city is heated either by district energy or electric heating sources. The Burlington of 2030 will need to be a city where 90% of our vehicles, that's more than 20,000 vehicles, are powered by renewable electricity. And in 2030, Burlingtonians must replace about 15% of the miles that we drive currently with alternative transportation.
Yeah, thanks for that, Adam. I think it sort of primes the pump for our discussion. And as Darren mentioned, it sort of brings us up to speed on what we're going to need to do in order to transition to net zero energy. So Darren, actually, starting with you, I know we have some history that brought us to this point in time and has allowed us to lay the groundwork for this ambitious move forward. Do you want to talk a little bit about sort of our renewable energy status and how this has paved the way?
Sure. I think when we've talked about it in the past, the pillars of Burlington's strategy has been, starting with energy efficiency. And we've had successful efforts over a number of decades now to reduce the amount of electricity that we use, such that we're actually using 8.8% less electricity in 2019 than we were in 1989, which is an impressive accomplishment in of itself. And then we've moved as a city, as a community, as a utility towards becoming renewable over a period of years as well. culminating in 2014 with being named the first city in the nation to source 100% of our power from renewable generation. And so building on those two pillars, really, the net zero energy strategy is a look at what comes next if we are continuing to work on reducing emissions, address climate change, innovate, bring new technologies to the community and to our customers. What comes next? And the net zero energy roadmap really lays out in great detail all the strategies, pathways that we need to achieve our goals, our most ambitious goal for 2030, which is not only ambitious in Burlington, but one of the most ambitious local climate goals that we're aware of anywhere in the country or even the world.
Thanks, Darren. So as you so clearly articulated, sort of our transition to net zero energy in the thermal and ground transportation sectors is really building on our success. Really, Chris, starting with so much of your work and this idea that we need energy efficient buildings first and foremost. We've got to be thinking about efficiency. Do you want to talk a little bit about your job and the role that you see efficiency plays in our transition to net zero?
Certainly, very glad to. So, as Darren mentioned, we have a long track record of working with customers to make their buildings, their HVAC systems, their lighting, their refrigeration, be as efficient as folks can afford to make it. And we've had a really nice track record working with our customers and contractors and vendors to make that happen. Going forward, as we start to switch some of the heating from a lot of natural gas, boilers and furnaces, hot water tanks, to heat pump technology, we feel that all that experience we have with efficiency is going to have us make the buildings themselves more efficient, in addition to the equipment, the heating and cooling and hot water equipment that goes into the buildings. So we're going to take our legacy of energy efficiency and try to be as thoughtful as possible as we reduce fossil fuel usage, do it as thoughtfully and efficiently as possible. And the experience we've gained over the years and the trust that our customers put into us, we feel like we've got good days ahead. And we think we can accomplish this. We're already seeing some customers embracing this. They are going all electric in their buildings, and they are really, really good at equipment selection, how they control it, and most importantly, they're building really good buildings, well insulated, well ventilated, very tight. So we have examples around the city of how this can work already.
Yeah, that's really great, Chris. Thank you. So you're really talking about this foundation of energy efficiency and its role in sort of electrification of buildings, which of course is one of our 4 key pathways. Darren, vehicle electrification being a second pathway, the second of 4. I wonder if you want to talk a little bit about our progress in that vein and where you see our successes.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we are thinking about transportation electrification really across every mode. So, Burlington Electric customers, either who are watching now or maybe watch this as it's archived, can go to burlingtonelectric.com and look at rebates for electric bikes, for plug-in electric hybrid vehicles, for full electric vehicles, whether they're new or whether they're pre-owned. We have rebates for both. We have an enhanced rebate for our low and moderate income customers. We offer charging incentives to install a level 2 charger in your home, an off-peak rate to fill up at an equivalent of 60 cents a gallon of gas, and also have provided incentives for workplace chargers, for public chargers, and even for 2 new electric buses that have joined the Green Mountain Transit fleet. And when I think about our goals for 2030, we really need everybody who's making decisions about getting a new vehicle to consider a plug-in or an electric vehicle if it's possible for them. And we're trying to make it affordable with our rebates. There's also state incentives and federal incentives that can further make it affordable. And we're also working with partners like CarShare, which now has an electric vehicle that any Burlingtonian who wants to be a member of CarShare can try and be able to experience driving electric. But really what we're talking about with the roadmap is that by 2030, we've really done a changeover in the fleet of Burlington residents and businesses and in city government as well, so that the vast majority of our vehicles are now electrified, are running with 100% renewable electricity from Burlington Electric, are not producing greenhouse gas emissions in their use. And also that we've reduced the need in some cases to be using vehicles because we've ramped up on transit and walking and biking and other options as well.
Yeah, thanks, Darren. And I really appreciate you bringing up the reduction in single occupancy vehicle use. Indeed, that's the third sort of tier when we think about our net zero energy strategy, including sort of 4 pieces or 4 tiers. I would say the third is this reduction in SOV use, single occupancy vehicle use, by 15% by 2030. You talked about CarShare as an important way to do that. And of course, we've helped Green Mountain Transit source 2 new electric buses. I wonder if you want to talk a little bit about that and make a plug for transit.
Absolutely. I think the electric buses, I'm thinking back to January of 2020 when we were all able to gather more easily in person. We had a nice event launching the 2 new electric buses. People may see them around the community. They've got a great design with a lightning bolt, just like we have in our Burlington Electric logo right on the side of the bus. And so they're able to run, using electricity, charging off peak, in the evening hours when they're not in use. And they're a great option. We'd love to see even more electric buses in the transit fleet in the near future. And for folks who are riding the bus or using transit, obviously we're reducing the need for a single occupancy vehicle, like you said, Jen. And part of the net zero energy roadmap strategy is to increase transit. I think even triple the transit use over the next decade, as well as making sure we're designing community development in a way that provides for walking and biking options, whether that's a conventional bike or an e-bike. And essentially what we're talking about with all of these measures is the energy efficiency of transportation. Just like we have efficiency for our electric system, this is the energy efficiency measures that helps us use less on the transportation system.
Yeah, thank you very much, Darren. So that's a really nice summary of the role that sort of transit and strategic transportation electrification can play for all of us. Hey, Chris, I want to kick it back to you because we know that incentives are going to play a key role in helping in our transition. We have incentives, as Darren mentions, for EV and for EV infrastructure. Of course, incentives for the building sector is important as well. Can you tell us a little bit about what we offer that can help folks afford some of these strategic electrification components that we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll break it down to new construction and then what we call existing buildings. And in new construction, we take a very custom look at it. All buildings are subject to the energy efficiency codes, and we basically do an energy modeling approach where we say, what does code tell you to do? And then where can we work with you and your design team to get you to go as high above that code as possible and embed as much beneficial electrification, such as heat pumps, such as a better envelope, the skin of the building. And we look at the delta and we pay you based on the energy that you're able to create. You get 50% of your incentive when the project is done. And then we wait another year looking at the actual energy usage, truing it up to the model, and you get that other 50% once we know that the building and you know that your building is working as well as it possibly can. It keeps everybody focused. We've gotten nothing but positive feedback because it really helps everyone know there's no guessing. The building is working as it was designed and built. And we feel like that's a really a nice way to get these buildings set and be energy optimized from day one. So good stuff on new construction. In existing buildings, if you look on our website, we have a host of appliance rebates, heat pump rebates. Darren mentioned the EV chargers, e-bike, e-mower, but there is just a suite of incentives that are available. Right now, due to COVID, we have our green stimulus efforts that are offering some really nice incentives for heat pumps in particular. And we encourage folks to look at the website. You can always ask questions at the efficiency@burlingtonelectric.com email. We'll have someone get right back to you. But I encourage folks to hop on that website and see what we have to offer.
That's great, Chris. So that's really a nice summary of what we refer to oftentimes as sort of the carrots to help spur action and help folks in their own transition to net zero energy. Darren, we know that policy is coming up more and more as an important component to help spur action. I know there's been some movement on a building electrification resolution or ordinance. Do you want to give us a high-level overview of what that might entail?
Absolutely. Well, I've had the pleasure of working with both of you on that, and with our colleagues at the Office of City Planning and also at Permitting and Inspections. And what this proposal, which we've shared a memo and a proposal with the City Council for consideration, and it'll be reviewed in the near future by the Ordinance Committee for further refinement. But what the proposal does is says, if you were going to have a new building constructed in Burlington and you were not going to be using any fossil fuel in the building, you were going full electrification, heat pumps or ground source heat pumps or VRF, other systems, great, then the policy for that piece is satisfied. But if you are planning to use some fossil fuel in the building, there would be a couple of components that are new, one of which is a carbon fee associated with the energy use in the building. That would be assessed every 10 years and would be an incentive economically to reduce as much as possible the fossil fuel use in the building. And then secondly, a provision to make the building electric ready. Because just like we talked about, we want everyone who's thinking about getting a new vehicle, which may last 10, 12 years, to think about electric. This provision would do the same for buildings and say, if you're building a new building, even if you're not making it electrified heating system and other technologies today, we want to make sure it's ready for that in the future so that it's compatible with our net zero energy goals in the future, because we see a future where electrification is going to play a greater role in the heating and the thermal sector, complemented by renewable fuels, such as you can get today from renewable natural gas, or potentially in the future from district energy as well.
Yeah, thanks, Darren. So, you had mentioned the Synapse roadmap report that was launched back in September and that the mayor talked briefly about in that clip that we saw at the beginning of the session. While I don't suggest that everybody read it cover to cover, there are some really interesting and helpful graphics if people want a high-level overview. Adam, I'm turning over to you. I wonder if we want to just do a quick screen share on what I think is perhaps the most useful graphic, and we can draw folks, draw their attention to this. So we've talked about sort of the four pathways. We've talked a little bit about efficient electric buildings, a little bit about the electric vehicles. Of course, we're working, of course, on district heating and alternative transport. When we look at this graphic together, I'm curious, say, Darren, is there anything in here that really excites you and that you feel like we're really starting to see some uptick in progress on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this is one representation essentially of what we would need to do to help get to net zero energy. We don't know if it'll play out exactly like this or if there'll be some variation. Technology is always changing, but we definitely are seeing an uptake on the heat pump systems, an uptick in the adoption of heat pump systems, particularly this year after we launched our green stimulus program in response to the COVID-19 economic impacts to help our customers and to help support jobs in the clean energy industry in Burlington. we've enhanced our incentives for heat pumps, and I think if I have this right, if you looked at from when we launched the roadmap in September to about June of this year, so over that roughly 9 or 10 month period, we had some good adoption, but over the last several months, I think we've been going at more like triple the rate of adoption that we had during that prior period. So I think we're starting to see contractors be so busy in Burlington installing heat pumps that you're seeing a waiting period now, that it's become more popular. And certainly that's an important technology to be advancing. And obviously, as you see here on the graph, it's the biggest slice for us to tackle is the efficient electric buildings. So I'm excited about that. And certainly I'm excited as well that we continue to make progress on electric transportation, electric vehicles. One thing that we've had great success with that's not even represented fully on this graphic, but is another important effort is we've seen a number of customers be interested in electric lawn equipment, which is terrific. And we have incentive programs to help you get an electric lawnmower. And even if you're a commercial business and you're doing lawn care, we have commercial electric leaf blower incentives. And maybe coming soon, perhaps we'll have some electric snowblower incentives as well. So really what's represented here is we want to electrify as much as we can, because that's going to be relying on 100% renewable electricity from BED, and that's something that we want to support for the community.
You're muted, Jen.
Yeah, there we go. Thanks, Darren. And thanks for reflecting on the graphic, which, as you say, is sort of a high level representation of where we're going. Essentially, we're looking at electrification in buildings and in transportation, of course, with this component of reducing vehicle miles traveled. And I appreciate sort of the foreshadowing for what may lie ahead in terms of a new rebate or two that's particularly appropriate for winter. Chris, kicking it to you, I'm curious, is there anything that you are particularly excited about? And then I want to ask about challenges too. So if you could start shoring up your responses to where you think our biggest challenges lie, I'll be curious to ask both of you about that as well.
Well, I have to agree with Darren. I think the adoption of heat pump technology does two things. One, it's really efficient cooling, which is important to us from a summer peak perspective, but it offers a really nice heating option in one package. For folks who don't know what heat pump technology is, if you go on our website, we show you pictures. What's the most popular right now are what's named ductless mini splits. You have a unit outside and then some refrigerant line that sneaks up and comes into these cassettes that sit in your living room or bedroom or TV room. And these appliances give you both heating and cooling, and they do it very, very efficiently. So the technology continues to advance. We're already seeing, the next generation of these things coming out and being able to do more. They're now centrally ducted. They can attach to an existing furnace that has, warm air ductwork that can now give you central heating and cooling and do it remarkably efficiently. And then in the commercial sector, the same thing. So we're feeling pretty good about that. We're also feeling really excited about how many new projects, whether it's a gut rehab or new construction, where the design team had worked with us or Vermont Gas previously, and they're coming to us with really good designs. I mean, these are very thoughtfully done buildings that are much better than code requires from an insulation and air sealing perspective. So we're really excited about that. The challenges is just the reality of Burlington. And our reality is we have a lot of rental properties, both in residential and in commercial, where the tenant or the leaseholder pays the energy bill individually. They're separately metered. So, how to thoughtfully figure that out are some of the things that we talked about through policy, but trying to get both customers, the building owner and the tenant, to join us in this in these programs is something that we're going to have to continue to think through.
Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing that up, Chris, because this is not going to be an easy road to hoe, but we're excited. I mean, given the fact that we've got the incentives, we've got some emerging and new technologies, and then of course, policy work Darren outlined, of course, the high level work that we're talking about regarding commercial building electrification, the building electrification policy. Darren, curious if you have anything you want to add to Chris's comments, either sort of where you are particularly excited, where you see inroads, and or the challenges that you think we're going to have to really come face to face with if we're going to make this a success.
Sure. Well, starting with the challenges, I agree with Chris that making sure that what we're trying to do is accessible and affordable for everybody in the community, renters as well as homeowners, businesses and nonprofits, making sure there is, as we've worked on, and Jen, you've been a leader on this, focusing on equity as we design our programs, as we build out our efforts, making sure that we're being inclusive and reaching out and inviting every member of the community to be a part of the net zero energy effort, and finding ways for everybody to engage is really important, because we won't succeed if everybody in Burlington doesn't have an opportunity to play a part and to join us and to find ways that we can help all of our customers reduce emissions. So that's a challenge, and just getting to scale with some of these technologies. These are newer technologies in some cases, and so finding ways to scale up and really see the adoption level begin to grow at the exponential rate that we're going to need to succeed is another big challenge. In terms of things I'm excited about, if we think economically about electrification of the transportation system, or in some cases as well with heating, what we're really talking about is keeping your energy dollars local. When you spend the dollar with Burlington Electric on 100% renewable electricity, far more of your dollar, about 3 times as much, stays in the Vermont economy as if you go fill up at the gas station with that same dollar. And that's an important benefit. In addition, we've done analysis through our integrated resource plan that's available on our website that suggests that moving to net zero energy, even with all the improvements that we'll be making to our system, is going to have a net benefit for our customers and our ratepayers when it comes to rate pressure in the future. Going to net zero energy can actually benefit us, and all things equal, help keep rates low and affordable relative to doing nothing different than business as usual. That's an important point. And so even for folks who may not be participating yet in our programs, they're seeing a benefit from our move in this direction. And that's a great benefit for the entire community.
Darren, I really appreciate you bringing that up, and the important impacts that net zero energy can have, both sort of on individual customers, but on the city overall in terms of keeping dollars local. As you've said before, we love our local food, our local bookshops. Why not our local energy? Let's really support it and tout it, and really provide the opportunity for all of us to benefit from a stronger economy, thanks in part to electrification. So, given that, I think it's a great way to end. I do really want to thank the both of you, Darren and Chris, for not only today, but for all your work and your leadership in this space. And of course, I know we all want to thank our customers, who we so value. It's really an honor to work for you. It's an honor to work for a municipal electric department. If folks have questions about this segment or anything else that's come up on other energy coaching sessions, we encourage you to go to our website. There's a space for you to contribute. We want to hear what you have to say, and we are eager to work with you today and into tomorrow. So again, so much thanks to Darren, and a big thanks, of course, to Chris as well. Take care, everyone, and thank you for being engaged.